you can join from wherever you are. We're going to start with the Guardian newspaper right now. Kwara government reduces work days to thrice a week for state public servants. The Guardian newspaper.
Yeah, even Edo State also did the same.
Right.
And am I allowed to tell them that even here we did the same? And even in my own house with my domestic staff, I jolly well did the same. So the implication of that is far-reaching. A civil service that worked for 5 days but had very little input. I hope one of those days is not a Friday. Then effectively you find people working just Mondays and Wednesdays. This is where we find ourselves now. But Lagos not the carry last, and I'm wondering why Lagos State hasn't made any announcement to that effect. I don't also know what Lagos State would do to alleviate the sufferings of the people. But the very first thing that the governor should do is get these Agberos off the road, for God's sake. For God's sake, we beg him. We beg him. There's nothing we can do. He's not coming up for re-election again, so we can't harass him. Now is now to beg him. Try and make life less difficult for your people. These Agberos are of no benefit to anybody. And I am sure that Agberos off the road, you'll be able to bring, fares down 100 naira, 150, 200. In the first place, the whole exercise is full of all kinds of things. It's been highly irresponsible. No nation, no community should live like that. Now that we have a crisis and our people are suffering, we shouldn't allow people point an imaginary gun to their heads and make their suffering worse. So that is the least we expect of our governor in Lagos. The other thing we also beg our governor for is to please find whatever it takes, ease up the traffic. There's no point buying. I bought half a tank at 27,000. I don't want to burn everything away, in traffic. A journey of 30 minutes takes me 2 hours, 3 hours with my engine running. And somebody said, I think it was Kelvin, that said he doesn't use his air conditioning in traffic. And I'll tell you, it's a safety measure for you to wind up. In daytime, it doesn't make any difference at night because they break the glass anyway. Because crime is on the increase, petty crime. You don't want somebody sticking his hand in your car. So we'd like Lagos State to roll out these things. One of the things we also need to ask is, how is it going to affect schools? How is it going to affect workers in hospitals and some areas that there's a lot of congestion? Yeah. Because you'll be told what is good for the goose is good for the gander. Those who work in the judiciary, are they going to, judiciary workers, would that also apply to them? Lagos is a bit different from these other states, but I'm glad that Kwara and my good friend Obaseki has set the pace in Edo, thinking ahead, and I think it's also increased their salaries. But the Lagos one is a bit different, because what is the percentage? Edo generally is like a civil service town. I don't know much about Kwara. Edo I know because I lived there. But in Lagos, it's a different ball game. There are too many people moving around on businesses, legitimate businesses, and so on and so forth, that the state would have to do something. And the least they can do is bring down the cost of transportation, because I don't think any Lagosian will be happy that he has to face subsidy removal and then now face giving Agbero, some money just to go from point A to point B. All said and done, like I said yesterday, is not looking good. You better prepare yourself. Sheriff asked a question, and I like that. He was asking, they said, okay, employers have turned it into 3 days. Employees, what are you doing? The other 2 days, if I were you, I'll go and look for an ad hoc job. If you're a low-income worker, and you go to work Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, see if you can do some work in the neighborhood to earn a bit more money. Don't just sit at home and say that, well, there's no work and it's a free day. You'll be doing yourself in. Because I can assure you, and this has nothing to do with whether it's your portion or not. By the end of this year, we'll be lucky if it's not 2 times worse. We'll be extremely lucky. because the regulation of the currency is still coming. That is going to bring its own effects. So we need to brace ourselves. We need to brace ourselves very, very seriously about, to prepare ourselves for what is coming. And it will get to a point where even if you want to go thief for person house, you won't have anything. Yeah. So I'll come and thief in my house. If you can carry my 65-inch TV, so be it.
Well, Michael says no one is considering the private schools teachers, and their survivability. They are humans too.
Well, the government is directly responsible for the civil servants. The private sector will take care of itself. I mean, without being told, we did that here. Without being told, we went on a 3-day whatever. Those who have by nature of their job can work from home, as to what you need to go to the drawing board. So it's not exclusive to anybody. For you to say, oh, you didn't mention teachers, you might as well mention everybody one by one. They will never leave the studio on time. Okay, they're talking about their bureaus now.
Yes, they said they've increased.
These are collections from drivers. Yeah. It must be curtailed. Look, I tried so hard not to say this. This mess that we are in now is caused by us to a large extent due to tolerance. When people keep saying these things, I've been at this work now for close to 11 years, and I have not said anything different. And now you can see the result. Are you going to sit back and let it get worse? We must resist this Agbero thing, whatever it's going to take. We must. Or else, are you going to continue paying this kind of money? We must. In what same country does this kind of thing happen? We must resist not just the Agbero thing, all other areas in which we see our money is being frittered away is going to come back to haunt us. That's what we have seen now.
Right. You can watch us live on Facebook and on YouTube. Just type Nigeria Info FM and you'll be live watching, and you can drop your comments as well. The Punch is our next paper, page 2 of the Punch. Subsidy. Reps demand NNPC audit over unaccounted 2 trillion naira assets.
I like what you call the bandwagon effect in politics. So the reps are now, after this crisis, now saying that they demand an NNPC audit. That in itself is something, because it's surprising that you don't have a yearly audit. Any organization, the company, whatever it is, it must be audited once a year, minimum, twice a year. In fact, you should have a small audit on a monthly basis, internal audit, and then bring in external auditors once a year. So what has been happening? And what is written out here in this story is not palatable to the ears. Let me spoil your morning. I'll read it. It says the prose was based on a motion moved by a member, Ibrahim Isiaka, and he says the need to ascertain the total consolidated inventory. We can't ascertain that. Assets, interests, and liabilities of the NNPC and its subsidiaries before transfer to the NNPC Limited to ensure a glossary accounting system. The committee further recommended that external auditors should audit the liabilities of over 2 trillion being inherited by NNPC Limited on behalf of the Federation. There is a need to further establish the current market value of NNPC, especially under a devalued Naira regime. The federal government should investigate foreign desk offices of NNPC subsidiaries with locations abroad and make IOCs establish offices in Nigeria and develop a framework that will make the companies answerable to the laws of Nigeria. Forensic auditors to first audit all NNPC accounts with all the banks to verify the following. Are you listening? Are you listening, Sheriff?
Yes, sir.
Osuni.
Yes, sir.
It says, 1, the true amount owed any bank as per loans granted. The exact movements of funds from NNPC accounts, as well as overcharges by banks, which is a huge amount of money and will be a source of additional revenue to the federal government. And the defaulting banks should be made to refund the sum discovered back to NNPC and back to NNPCs to federal government with interest. The committee also recommended that the NNPC should auction the equipment and transfer proceeds of equipment awarded for Port Harcourt Refinery in the sum of $250 million yet to be supplied to NNPC. According to its findings, the committee noted that the NNPC was alleged to have over 25 subsidiaries whose profits, assets, and liabilities were transferable to NNPC. But the NNPC only transmitted records of only 21 subsidiaries out of 25. The committee noted that the NNPC in its latest group audited financial statement reported total assets of 15.8 trillion and so on and so forth. The Nigerian publications on the 3rd of January 2022 pointed to the fact that NNPC is asking the federal government to pay additional $1.5 billion to 5 ROCs as outstanding cash call balance. This is additional liability about to be passed on to NNPC Limited. However, our findings show that, as a matter of fact, the Federation has actually paid the liabilities of over $2 billion through President Buhari's directive, found a liability of over 2 trillion naira that NNPC Limited is about inheriting on behalf of the Federation. No reasonable basis has been established for this liability, which is associated with Nigeria Ajib. My God. The committee said available information showed that the NNPC assets were stated at historical costs and written down values, while subsidiaries of the NNPC with locations in foreign countries buy crude oil and gas from NNPC without evidence of their payments for the purchases. These companies are indicted to be operating without employees and no fixed assets. Yet, over 30 billion naira is traceable to some of them. My God. Sherry, this is Standard Chartered Bank is closing all its Nigerian branches, and the nation has so much to worry about, considering the huge funds warehoused therein in the name of NAPIMS and NNPC. There's something untoward going on there.
Yeah, according to the investigation done by the House, they found out that NNPC, what's his name now? The central bank made some payment to some oil companies that promised to bring in fuel. I mean, so they took the crude out. They were supposed to, bring back some amount. They didn't. And these people were paid monies. And we took them to court, not local court, of course, the destination, the country that the transaction happened. And we won some of the cases. Now, it's called the judgment debt. Till today, these companies, about 2 of them, they've not paid.
Who are the people behind this?
We don't know.
What do you mean? They must be known.
The companies are the ones that are being that are answering cases, not individuals.
We didn't tie the directors to the case.
It's the companies that we dealt with. It's a company that we dealt with as a country.
Sometimes, even for mischief, for legal mischief, you tie the directors so people know who they are. It's not a ghost company, is it?
No, no, of course not, because the companies also took part in the court case, and we won it.
This people say, this report says that the companies had no assets. They not get office, they not get motto, they not get anything.
You know how it was. I mean, we're talking about back in 2013.
Yes.
It wasn't even last 8 years.
Yes.
We're talking way back when we were still doing
so
all
you
these
can imagine
portfolio companies there and there.
If you go now, do you think it stopped? Do you think it ever stopped from then?
Well, once what's the name now? NNPCL or NNPC at the time started being sole importers, I think there's a bit of control over it, because NNPC can now be held responsible as sole importers. But now there are no more sole importers anymore.
The truth is this. When I heard the story also of Nigerian Air and what took place, my conclusion is that we have this nasty habit of not holding people responsible for what I would call, to put it bluntly, fraudulent practices. But even in the course of their job as government officials, I will call it misdemeanor. Look at the one that brought the plane here. He said it was brought for show and returned back to Ethiopia. For what? Who's going to pay that cost? Who?
Otila.
We We knew. Oh yeah, let's go. Let's take another. We knew.
You have to finish now.
No, I can't finish it. My mouth is paining me. Our tolerance level in this country is mind-boggling.
It's mind-boggling, actually.
It's mind-boggling.
Actually, I said the same thing.
The tolerance we have for crime and this dismissive attitude. This House of Reps report, nothing's going to come out of it, unless God comes down to
I'm
save
not
us.
going to be surprised because I mean,
Nothing. They will huff and puff. But you know the way these things go now. Off your mic. What?
What's the outcome?
What's the outcome? By the way, the man who fainted that day is well now.
He's probably just enjoying his loot somewhere. Honestly speaking, this country. Let's take you through some headlines in the Punch.
If I do this job for another 1 year, I'll end up in the sanatorium. I'll end up in the North House. Because a lot of things you just can't explain. Anyway, let's go. All right, so this we have today, a police probe assassination of UI professor. Oh, my God. One feared dead as Rivers Pirates hijacked, but fresh Ebonyi communal crisis claims true. Man remanded for stabbing friend to death. Lagos hoodlum stabbed 27-year-old man, victim hospitalized. This happens every day. There's no news in this. You know, Benue, look at this one, Sheriff. Benue catechist caught with female corpse, flees. Do you know what happened?
Yeah.
The catechist impregnated the woman.
Lady, yeah.
Oh, I wanted to say so she got pregnant. I forgot that I'd used the word impregnated. I wanted to say impregnated and then she got pregnant. But anyway, the catechist got her pregnant. So they were now she was now taking what my late mom would call ice pokey. You know, in Ajase, when we used to go for all this, that's ice pokey. So they put some ice pokey together and everything. And then the woman died.
Ooh.
So the man now, his hand fell. To translate directly, so he now tried to conceal the body in his apartment, and now tried to make a break for it at night. I think he was going to go and deposit her somewhere, and then
And he was caught.
But Meho fled. Obasari elected Speaker as Sanwo-Olu inaugurates. This man became speaker by a hair's breadth. The politics was mind-boggling. The politics was so much yesterday that even the employees who have nothing to do with what's going on in the chamber took out a full-page ad yesterday. It's because we never got to it. The kind of politics we play in Nigeria is... But congratulations to him. All kinds of things were thrown at him, indigenship and this and that and that and this.
Come to think of it, I mean, why would that have happened in the first place? They are virtually everywhere in the state assembly. He was speaker twice already. Perhaps there might have been some higher powers who didn't want him as speaker.
You want me to?
I'm just saying, someone had been speaker 1, 2. I mean, what's now the big deal in being speaker the third time? If not, if not, maybe the governor or maybe the deputy governor.
No, it was rumored. It was rumored that all was not well between him and the governor, which is understandable, because that would be part of the problems that Asiwaju's ascendancy would also have created. I mean, these things do happen. Okay, we heard that the governor, because there was a time, there was a very strong rumor that they wanted to remove the governor too. Oh yes, in recent times.
Oh
yes, but this happens every day. You do me, I do you. You do me, I do you. But all's well that ends well. I hope this will be his last term as speaker, and I'll tell you why. Public office is an opportunity. This is not what should be, but it's what it is. It's an opportunity for families that are involved in such appointments to get improved. And so if you look at it from that, if he's been speaker for 2 to 3 terms, I think it's time he moved around to allow another family to enjoy the spoils of this thing. Because that's the way we are. No, Sheriff, listen, that is his family, Obasa family, cannot say that things had been the same with them before he became speaker.
Yeah.
If he's a, I don't know if he's a Christian or Muslim. If he's a Muslim, now his yard will be full of all kinds of ram. So we don't need to run away from that. And so I had a bit of that problem when my cousin wanted to run for reps, and I said the same thing. But he said he had a target, and of course he wanted to be Speaker of the Federation, which he got. But with the kind of politics that we play here, I think 2 terms is enough for anybody to move on.
Yeah.
Let them move him to reps or something so that other people too can have something to eat.
Incidentally, at the reps level,
Yes.
at the Senate level, there's no limit to the number of amount of terms that they can go in for.
That's on paper. That's on paper.
Yeah.
That's on paper. But the reality is, what public office does to, I didn't say does to him, to the families. What are you saying?
Yeah, exactly. So why would he want to relinquish?
If I become speaker tomorrow, at the very least you'll have Disu street in about 4 or 5 local governments.
You think me that will benefit from it will now allow you to step aside?
This speaker would decrease by
exactly. That's why I will not allow you to step aside after 2 terms. Yes, now. I will not allow you to step aside now. I can even take you to court.
The thing is, luckily, this Lagos thing usually, to a large extent, is allocation.
Yeah.
But so the interesting part would be the next election when Baba is busy upstairs trying to retain his seat.
Yeah.
Then you have
what's
to
going to happen?
What's going to happen then? But we'll wait till then. But Obasa, you are the speaker now. These things that people are saying, can you please take the governor up on them? The environment. I saw a story yesterday that said that the federal government and the Ministry of Works are concerned about under the bridges. A lot of damage is being done. There's one woman, I don't know, it's one of the directors. So, Mr. Obaka, Speaker, on behalf of the people who elected you to this position, can you please take it up with the executive? Clear under the bridges, clean the environment. It's the least we can ask for. But in the meantime, congratulations. I'm sure he'll be resting somewhere now. It must have been a very tough fight.
Yeah.
And then he says here that the Lagos State Muslim Welfare Board lifted 2,379. We keep insisting and begging and whatever it takes. Let the government hands off pilgrimages. It's the private to the individual. These things can now be done smoothly. You have heart stores. People organize heart stores without getting government involved. They airlift you, put you in a good hotel, bring you back, and so on and so forth. Excuse me, that's the way it should be. So that's what we have in the news today. That is not making front page news.
So what we're going to do is I'm just going to go through the rest of the papers because we have about a minute or so.
A minute.
FG charges Adebutu Bank MD with vote buying, money laundering. This is in the Punch. I have another one here that says Uber Bolt drivers begin nationwide strike.
When do they begin?
They'll be in the. They're already here. They'll be in the studio in about 5 minutes.
If they're here, how did they get here?
Well, they have their cars. They may not turn on the app, but they have their cars.
Let me quickly comment on this Adebutu thing.
Yeah.
Because what he's been accused of was that he has these Verve cards. You know Verve?
Yes, Verve. Yeah.
So he was accused of loading them with 10,000 naira each and distributing that during elections. That's what he's being accused of. It says it charged Adebutu. The government also dragged Zenith Bank, his managing director, Ebenezer Onyiagu, and the head of card services of the bank, Celestina Appeal, before the Federal High Court in Abeokuta for allegedly aiding Adebutu to commit the alleged offense. Is that an offense? Well, the court will decide.
Vote buying, yeah.
No, not the vote buying part. Even is buying so many cards. He bought about 10,000 cards and then loaded them, each one of them with 10. So instead of cash, it's the cards.
The cards, right. Okay, all right. Which I think it could be a pointer to what the government can do themselves if they're trying to distribute these monies that they usually distribute. Yeah.
Come on, her card.
They will it would be a customized card that banks would be told to issue out in the name of that holder. So if there's going to be any government incentives or palliatives.
The unfortunate part is we are cynical people because we know that this process will be tampered with.
We have to go now.
Yeah.
Lagos, thank you so much. You'll be back at 9 for Diabumi.
No, we are having the selling from yesterday.
Oh, Peter said, yes, second part. Yes,
Second
that's true.
part,
That's
yes.
true. That's true.
No Diabumi.
Okay.
We don't have time. Let's solve our livelihood first, then we can have fun.
Resolve the livelihood
Resolve
issue.
the
Oh, serious. Thank you for coming. Lagos, thank you for listening. Let's take this break. When we return, let's talk to the e-hailing drivers on what the problem is.
We all have that one friend that always hides everything from everyone else. Like my guy, Sheon, that got 1 gig free data when he downloaded my MTN NG app. Did he share the gist with us? No! But we found out, and even so.
And I want to assume that you would run because I want to give the listeners context for the conversation.
In 2019, you were running mate to Atiku Abubakar. What did you learn then that you will not repeat this time?
Yes, when is the president coming out to address us?
There's a few things. One, I have a burden and a passion for young people.
The fact that you have elected a man does not mean then you begin to order him around. The president will do whatever is good for the country at any given time.
Mr. Adeshino, isn't the president responsible to the people?
What should the next president do to root out stakeholders who are complicit?
You fire those that need to be fired are fired. It's looking like a brand new Chelsea, attacking with so much fluidity. And what can you say about that, Martin? I know you follow Chelsea quite closely.
I live close to the Chelsea training ground. That's what you mean by that. I'm not.